That was a fun 3 days. I think a good opportunity to really build our team and add to it. First I want to thank all the scouts, our whole personnel department, for the work they put in before we were here, and certainly once we got here. I'll tell you what, watching our scouts, it's probably a little different process with me and Chad coming in, but they didn't miss a beat. They were ready, had the information, had the work in, and really proud of the effort they put in. The coaches I mentioned, the effort, the commitment to the draft while camps are going on and veteran mini camps and football school, just a lot of stuff going on. They're focused. They didn't lose focus on what the important task was in terms of the draft, and I really appreciate their efforts. Josh and his crew, our entire medical staff, Marco and Sal, their help with all the medicals and information. They were there at my side a lot during the draft, and then also leading up to it, just on top of all the information. Duddy and the video crew, everything we needed, we were ready to go. They had it prepared ahead of time, and if we needed something, they had it ready. Smitty and the equipment guys, weeds and operations. There's so many people and departments that go into this game, the season, but they also go into the draft. And I really appreciate everyone's efforts and energy and enthusiasm. It was a great cohesive, collaborative effort from all of us. So it was a fun day today. We were busy. Had a chance to add 6 players. You guys can ask me about them individually. I won't run through them all, but one thing I'll say about all of them, they're multi-year starters. They're great character guys. They're highly competitive players. And, in case anyone asks, if anyone's curious, they were the best players on our board when we picked them. So I'll open it up to questions. Chad, you got anything to say?
No, just really excited about this whole process and all the guys we brought in, all 9 of them, like Joe said, ultra competitors and, just bring toughness and edge and guys that are going to really help us moving forward. So extremely, extremely happy about the results.
Joe, is that kind of the through line that runs through everyone you've got, similar sort of, identity or characteristics, or what do you want?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. There's players that fit the Charger profile, and we really believe all 9 of these guys do. And you want high character players. You want highly competitive players, passionate players, intelligent, durable, tough. Just guys that care about each other. And I can really say that about every one of these. We have a blue star that we brought with us here. It used to be the red star, it's the blue star now. We drafted 3 of them, and we don't have a bunch of them. Each scout gets 1, and they put it on a guy, and we were able to take 3 of them. And frankly, all 9 of these players could be blue star type players, but we're limited in the numbers we can give out. So you pick 1, you put it on them, and so that's a real positive thing for us.
Did the black dot come too?
The black dot came too. We did not take a black dot.
Just starting as far as the players you got, starting with the corners.
Yeah.
Tarheeb Still.
Yeah.
Envision him with flexibility inside, outside. Okay.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen him, if you've seen the highlights, he plays inside and out there. He's played with really good corners throughout his career, and he had a first rounder playing with him last year, and I can't remember when the other one went, but when was it?
I think it was the third or fourth.
Third, yeah. But he started with them, and played inside and outside with them, and belonged on the same field with them. Like, you couldn't tell them apart at times. So you had to find them because you're like, gosh, which one is that? Sometimes you were grading Tarheeb last year thinking you were grading someone else. So he moves around, has that versatility. He's got that toughness, burst, explosiveness. So
philosophically, how important is that to this defense? Specifically, like having flexibility, or are you like, when you're looking for nickel players, are you like focused on those traits? I guess, how do you weigh those two different things?
Yeah, no, I think when you look at a corner, nickel flexibility is a bonus, right? It's like, you know, that's a plus, you know, and you know, if they're just an outside guy, that's great. If they're an excellent nickel, that's great. But a guy that can do both like him, that's something you really value.
And then with Cam, obviously traits are jump off the page, 6'3",
Yeah.
you know, size, 33-inch arms, you know, the speed. Were you guys surprised at all that he was still there? And beyond, I guess, the traits that we can see, like what are you looking for?
Yeah, well, again, like the traits are outstanding. He's highly competitive. He can challenge all throws when he's in position, and length to recover, speed to recover. In terms of being surprised when they're there, I mean, there's times where you're surprised when everyone's there if you like them, you know, and if they're the highest guy on your board, you're, you know, all right, he made it, you know, so someone's going to be there. You know, some guys fall, some guys get drafted higher than they say, or the pundits say, but when the right guys fall to you, that's where they belong. So, you know, the draft's the draft. You know, guys fall, guys rise. You know, guys get picked where that team wants to pick them.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting at is, like, traditionally, when you have a corner with that profile,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna take a stab at it. So, like, what do you think it was? Like, lack of ball production? Was it something specific on his tape? Like,
I can't speak for other teams. I just know we like them.
How much of an advantage is it with Jim and most of his staff from college this year in the draft process and maybe the next year or so for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an advantage for a couple of years for us for sure. You know, because you know incoming freshmen they've recruited and they've gotten to know their families, and then the ones that have been there, they've played against them and coached them, and so they know the ins and outs of the players that they've coached certainly, but they also have familiarity with the players they haven't coached that they've competed against. So that is it is a definite bonus, definitely.
You had the optional mini camp earlier this week. Did anything from those 3 days kind of change or reinforce how you went into these 3 days?
It reinforced that we're looking for the right types of players, because I tell you right now, being out there at those 3 days and seeing the guys that are already out on the field, I'm excited to add these 9 players plus the players that we were working on signing in post-draft free agency. I'm excited to add them to the group of guys that are already out there.
Joe, I know you say you've never done with, you know, any group adding a position, but do you feel better or comfortable with the wide receiver room after these past few days?
I mean, we drafted 3, so I definitely feel like we got a lot deeper there. And I've talked about depth for our team from the beginning, and that's one of the goals. And I feel like we got deeper there, yeah.
Do you think that, you're not trying to reveal strategy or anything like that, do you think that the group is missing anything, whether that be experienced player or a type of player in that room?
I think the group that exists is going to go out and compete and challenge each other and try to win for the Chargers. And if we feel like we can add a player to any group on this team that helps us do those things, we're going to add them. It doesn't matter the position.
How emotional the call was it to Brenden Rice today?
Yeah, that was it was a tough one, you know, knowing what he and his family and his friends are going through, and you know, certainly felt the emotion through the phone. I felt the emotion myself, you know, having to make that call. I know he was very excited, you know, on top of, you know, while having to deal with the emotions he was facing, but he told me when we were talking, he was like, I've wanted to play for Coach Harbaugh. I'm so excited to play for Coach Harbaugh. I can't wait. You know, he was so happy to be a Charger, and to feel that and hear that, it was a pretty cool moment for me myself, you know, and I'm sure it was a great moment for him.
Specifically with Brenden, what his game? What do you maybe for both the 2 receivers you took at the end? Sort of where would you kind of assess their games and how they projected going forward, and what they maybe need to work on, or what would you be looking to see from them?
Yeah, really like both of those guys. I mean, we love them as players. First of all, I mean, they both have NFL bodies. You know, they look like NFL receivers. You know, extremely productive guys that are tough. They have the right mindset. Brenden has a lot of explosive plays down the field, long, touchdown production, Arizona State, UCLA, Stanford, these games. I mean, he can really stretch the field vertically. Does a lot of things that you really, really like, and he blocks and does a really good job. And then Cornelius, same thing, really productive, tough-minded individual. He might be the best blocking receiver in the draft, or certainly one of them. And, he gets after it. So, it's great to bring those two guys in and have them compete with the rest of the group.
The running back you guys took, Kimani Vidal.
Yeah.
What about his game do you think fits in with the mentality, the identity that you guys are trying to establish here with the running game?
Yeah, well, one, he can carry the rock, He's done it very well during his career there. And he's got great vision, burst, excellent contact balance, strength. Like, he's not a tall back, but he's not a small back. He's 215 pounds, I think, and just runs through arm tackles, can make guys miss, take a hit, stay on his feet, great balance, strong, like guys, DBs closing on him, punch him, with a stiff arm and just keep going. But just that, competes, and also offers something in the passing game as well. And when you watch him block, it's impressive. Like he'll throw it up in there against a blitzing linebacker.
What about Eboigbe? Because it kind of seems like he was one of those under the radar guys because of his injury a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Breakout season last year.
Yeah. He's a guy that myself and a number of our scouts really liked. I think everyone who did him, we had basically third round grades on him, maybe even a few second round grades sprinkled in there. So when you watch his film, he does everything right. He plays the defensive line position how we want it done. That's hat in hands, extend in, two gap in, reading. He's instinctive. He's got a high motor. He's athletic. He's a sneaky pass rusher. He's great picking. He's great on twists, so kind of relentless motor. So he's earned the right, wherever he came from, the riser. You watch the film, he doesn't rise. The scouts that went in there in October, he didn't rise from October to now. They threw it on him then, and he just got realized by the media out there. But he's a good football player.
Alignment-wise, he played kind of all over the place at Bama, even some nose. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like he can do all of that at the NFL level, or maybe not?
I think different parts of the game, right? Different situations. Interior, he can line up over the center, in maybe a third down situation. I think his base positions is a 5 technique, a defensive end. But you see him at Bama, he plays the 6, a 7 technique, and then he moves down to the 3. And like you said, even knows in some passing situations. So again, with our defense, you talk about corners being nickel, being outside. Defensive linemen that can play all across the board is pretty good value.
Yeah. Extremely intelligent, really impressive combine interview, and his interviews with the coaches and stuff like that. Like, he gets it. Like, he understands football at a high level, so it's not going to be a problem for him to align at different positions along the defensive line.
Question for both of you, since you've obviously been around the NFL a long time. How important is day 3 in terms of team building, right? Because obviously round 1 gets a lot of buzz, but if you look at teams that are good, depth and day 3 picks.
Yeah, I think it's very important. When you can find players that, one, can create an impact for you, that can create depth for you, that can become a starter. You can find all different types of players on day 3, and that going into it. And there's certainly different values that they bring, but that's where the scouts and the coaches really do their work. And everyone has their mock drafts on the first and second rounds and third rounds, and honestly, you could probably pick 36, 37 players on day 1, and you'll get 32 of them right. Pretty much everyone knows who's going because there's so much information out there, but day 3 is the day where the information's not as readily available, and that's when you trust your scouts, and our guys did a great job just knowing the players and really identifying the ones that could help us.
Just going back to Justin for a second, with the neck surgery that he had, the neck fusion surgery can come with risks. I think we've seen guys in the league, Leighton Vander Esch, for example, just medically retired. How did you factor in that into the grades and how you scouted it?
Yeah, that's where we trust our medical team, Marco and Sal and the guys, and Dr. G, and you know, you evaluate it. You see the images and, you know, and you assess it. And we felt good about it.
Was he one of the 30 you brought in just to check on the medical and everything, or just from the combine?
We got the combine medicals, and we're good. And he aced the interview, like Chad said. He was awesome out there, so we felt good about him. And we didn't say anything about him from that moment on. So that's why he was a riser, I guess.
I don't know if this is the right term, but this being the first time you've gone through this as the GM, do you, sitting here right now, I mean, how would you describe, do you feel like you won, this was a victory for the Chargers? Do you feel satisfied? Like, what's the feeling that you have just now that you've completed your first one?
Thankfulness, you know, for the opportunity from John and Dean, you know, like giving me this chance. Thankfulness to Chad and all the scouts, the coaching staff, my family. You know, I miss them dearly, but, you know, so that's probably the feeling I have. We made the first pick. Someone said, how's it feel? You know, when we took Joe, it felt the same to me. It really did, because I've been part of it so many times. But probably at the end today, you know, it's like, wow, we did it. You know, like, so there's a excitement to it, but, you know, it's what I was hired to do, and I just did what I was taught to do by Ozzie and Eric and the guys I worked with in Baltimore and Steve. So I just brought what they taught me to do and did it my way, I guess, a little bit. And so, but I guess that's my answer. But
As far as the team building the roster, how happy are you with the way this went? And now coming out of this and looking at the rest of what's still to come here, how do you feel about the roster?
I mean, I tell you what, I'm really excited the way it went, especially, you know, you look at our first pick, all right, and we take Joe, and I don't know how many tackles went in the first 2 days of the draft, but we feel like we got our best player on the board, certainly the best tackle on the board, and, you know, it worked out great from that way. And then the opportunity to take the players we took each time, you know, we were just excited to take every one of the players. So, you know, I really believe we made our team better, and, you know, and looking forward to seeing them here and getting them with the rest of the group.
With this process, how much did you take from Ozzie? How much did you take from Eric, or were they both kind of similar in how they approached it?
Yeah, and Chad can attest to this. You know, I mean, we worked together for 20 years. Ozzie led us till 2018, the 2018 draft. So, and Eric was right there as his right-hand man, and we were down the line, you know, right next to him, you know. And so you learn so much from each other, you know, and so we do bring a lot of it, you know. And, you know, me personally, I sit in there and go through the process, and I'm like, you know, I know the process. I've never done it from that chair, but after doing it, after meetings, after everything, it's like, you know, you learn a lot more than you even realize just by sitting there and watching them. So probably took a little bit from each of them. You know, some philosophical stuff that Ozzie taught us way back when, that came into play in my mind many times, and certainly the mechanics and the strategy that Eric's employed since he's been our director of college scouting, and then our director of player personnel in Baltimore. You know, I watched him do it for so long. A lot of that rubbed off on me, and I tried to apply a lot what I learned from both those guys.
For Chad, just what was it like watching Joe through this process? Because Jim raved about him the past couple days, and talking about the 5-day sessions with only one bathroom break to 2 days, and going through all that.
I mean, it was so fun, you know, just watching him and seeing him grow in this role and his natural leadership come through and really just get the best out of everybody, you know, and just the process itself. And, you know, we did learn a lot from Ozzie. He set the blueprint and learned from Eric and really borrowed from everybody that we've worked with. But Joe did an outstanding job of just bringing everyone together, stayed true to the process. You know, we spent just as much time on our top guy on our board as our last guy on our board. You know what I mean? And it was he just had a way of bringing everyone in and having everyone, you know, feel a part of it. And it was outstanding. You know what I mean? And it was you could tell by how happy everyone was at the end. leaving from over there just a few minutes ago. Just everyone's high-fiving and just really pumped up and just excited about the result. You know what I mean? Because the process was challenging. You know what I mean? We really we challenged ourselves. We challenged the scouts. We challenged the coaches. And man, they answered the bell. They did an outstanding job. And Joe and Jim are our leaders, and they led the way. They really did.
And just so we're clear with the bathroom break, people can get up and leave and go to the bathroom, all right? I just don't get up and leave, all right? So that's a learned thing. I know you cap your coffee intake, 1 cup of coffee, use the restroom before, you start the meetings, and then you just roll, And so, but anyone's welcome to get up. I'm not, just keeping everyone in there, bladders floating. So,
You might miss your opportunity in saying something.
Yeah. No, people do leave. People do leave. All it takes is one, right?
You're right about that.
One person gets up and goes, and then okay, it's okay, So you get on a roll, and I don't drink a lot of water during meetings, or I just try to limit my fluid intake. So.